good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Friday. I just realized I'd opened up the windows in here because it's hoodie weather, and the neighbors are going to hear me. Oh, boy. Now I'm going to get text messages from the wife and probably from some of my neighbors. Top of the morning. Happy Friday to everybody. Yes, it is hoodie weather. I get to wear hoodies. Yay. I decided to rock the golf hoodie this morning, rocking my Callaway hoodie that I got going on this morning. Hope everybody's doing fantastic. Welcome to Friday. Cheers. Oh, coffee hits way different on Friday. We made it through another week, chat. We made it through another week, and we are rolling into the weekend. Welcome, everybody who's tuning in this Friday morning. This is our Friday morning AMA, Ask Me Anything chat with a side piece of co-working later on today. We're definitely going to enjoy some Friday today. Tails telling us that it's Mental Health Awareness Day. As a reminder, we care about mental health here at Cyber Insecurity. This is the reason we make BeardSec work 24/7 on all things. If you obviously if you find yourself in need of somebody to talk to, there's lots of resources out there to get you some help to talk to. We do have a channel inside the Discord called You Are Not Alone. We do, obviously encourage folks to share their stories in there as well, because at the end of the day, you are not alone, right, in this journey. But with that being said, this is our Friday morning AMA. That's why we're all here together. We're all here to reminisce and enjoy the all things greatness about cybersecurity together on our Friday morning AMA stream. My name is Neal Bridges. Thank you for tuning in today, whether you're a new visitor. Thank you so very much for tuning in with us and taking the time out of your day to come and chat and chill and hang out with us. If you're a returning visitor, thanks so much for tuning in on a Friday morning. I know your days are busy. I know your life is hectic. Thank you for making Cyber Insecurity your Friday morning choice to get pelted on, to get soapboxed on, to hear me rant and run the risk of having everybody come in and tell me, like, Neal, are you okay? Why are you so angry? Why are you so angry? We do all have our relative mental insecurities. I shared mine with Beard yesterday. I shared mine. It's true. It's true, right? I mean, I called Beard up yesterday and was like, dude, am I overthinking this? Talking about content and things like that. And whatnot. And, so, I mean, we all do it. We all have it. It happens, right? It is what it is. I do. I have my own set of insecurities. I have my own mental health challenges. I've got some physical health challenges too. Not what you think, obviously. I've been working on speed on the golf simulator. Speed is king, right? Speed is king. Speed helps you get that ball down that golf course as far as it can go on those swings. I was working on my mid-iron speed yesterday, whatnot, and, it hurts the body a little bit to try to swing this tiny little metal club 90 miles an hour, on the golf simulator, but trying to get that speed going on. So yeah, I got a little bit of back issues. I gotta work those out today. I got a tournament on Sunday. We got tournaments the next 4 tournaments the next 3 weekends. Next 3 weekends, Saturday, it's going to be Sunday, and then Saturday, Sunday, the next 3 weekends. So, gearing up for some fall tournaments. I love fall tournaments because, again, I get to wear hoodies or, at least light jackets right out there on the golf course. And, it's nice, cool breeze, everything like that. So definitely enjoying that. That's right. I was doing my intro. Rabbit. You can already tell the caffeine's kicking in. Cool. Just a couple rules as we kind of kick off today's AMA stream. First and foremost, no toxicity in chat. What does that mean? No racist, sexist, misogynistic, elitist, and otherwise toxic behavior in chat. We have a zero tolerance policy, words are hard, stance when it comes to toxicity inside of chat. We do stream across a multitude of platforms. I want to thank everybody who is tuning in with us from all of our different platforms for hanging out with us this morning. I do see you in YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I guess I can say them now. I just can't like put them up on screen apparently. So I can say them out loud. I just can't put them up on screen. The rules keep changing. God, I want to make a joke so bad. Much like the Architecture Review Board and most security organizations, it just doesn't matter. Yes. But no toxicity in chat. We do have moderators in chat. Moderators are here to keep chat free of any racist, sexist, misogynistic, elitist, and otherwise toxic behavior. They are not here, however, to stifle chat whatsoever. As a matter of fact, moderators are here to make sure your voices get heard. So we highly encourage discourse, especially civil discourse inside of chat. As this is our AMA stream, we do highly encourage you to drop your questions, comments, bitches, gripes, complaints into chat. As this is an opportunity, we usually take this opportunity to sit down with you guys at the end of the week after a week full of content to have a conversation with you guys at the end of the week. Moderators do see all questions in chat. They do try to grab them. They'll usually put them into a queue, and then at appropriate points of time, they'll push them up on the screen just like this, and we will answer them together. Let's talk about toxicity really fast. We were a little late starting stream this morning. Because I was catching up on a thread that started about 11 o'clock last night in Discord and went on till about 12:30. And first and foremost, let me just tell you the absolute amount of professionalism that Bayou Beast and Outcast showed in Discord last night. Absolutely fantastic professionalism from those two individuals. There was a lot of conversation. There was a lot of conversation that could have easily been taken a little hostilely, that I think both of them exhibited a massive amount of professionalism. And that's one of the things that we highly encourage here in this community is we all have different opinions. We've all got different life experiences when it pertains to cyber. Lord knows I'm an opinionated son of a bitch, right? I don't expect everybody to agree. I don't expect everybody to agree with me all of the time. That's why we share our opinions in chat, and good job with Matt and Outcast for the team there for doing that. That is just a reminder. That as I read through that chat, I want to just take a moment to say something about it, right? The internet creates an opportunity for people to be a little bit bolder in their assumption of the person that's on the other end of that keyboard more than I care for. Right? I think we have a tendency to call those folks keyboard warriors in most cases, right? There was definitely some comments that were slewn back and forth that, a less mature individual could have easily taken as pretty offensive. And that's a lot of the props that I give to Bayou Beast and Outcast as I read through that chat. But it's just a reminder. In this community, the way that we try to operate here, folks, is we try to assume positive intent, right? Everybody here, generally speaking, has positive intent in the questions that they're asking and the responses that they're giving. And when you'll know it when somebody has decided to not assume positive intent anymore, BeardSec, because they will make their feelings pretty expressly known, because we've built a community that is based around transparency and honesty and directness, right? We do allow and we love the discourse, but my continued ask, and the moderators continue to ask, and the communities continue to ask, is that you do assume positive intent. And remember that almost everybody who interacts with you as part of this community, when you ask a question, is trying to help you in some way, shape, or form. CyberSec Mom, glad to see you. And of course, making the grand entrance with the gifted subs and starting of the hype train. Congratulations to everybody who got gifted sub. Make sure you participate in the exclusive sub-only Discord channel and commune with your fellow cybersecurity professionals. But yes, we do highly encourage the civil discourse. But remember, the first part of that word is the civil matter. Right? Do make sure that you are being respectful of your fellow cybersecurity people. Is this also on Twitch? Yes. AI the Beastly. We are live on Twitch, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X. Somebody on LinkedIn says, will the replay be available? Yes, the VOD will be available. Words are hard. Both on YouTube and Twitch. Both on YouTube and Twitch. With that being said, it was still a good conversation. You could go back in Discord and read it. It was a fantastic conversation. It happened late last night. I just want to say, Bayou Beast and Outcast, I've spoken with both those individuals personally. They are both exceptionally professional, and I would highly recommend listening to their opinions, because I have intimate knowledge of their professional qualifications, and I could unequivocally tell you that they are professionally qualified to speak the things that they are speaking. Without a shadow of a doubt. They get my full wholehearted endorsement. All right, let's do a couple of programming updates. I have a couple of things to share with you. I have a couple of things. Obviously, I have my curated things that I want to talk about as well. I just brought them up on my phone here so I can remind myself to talk about them. Monday, don't forget, Monday we have moved the cyber threat briefs to being every Monday at 9 a.m. So start your week off right with a Monday morning cyber threat brief between Jason and I. That got a huge amount of success this last Monday. We thoroughly enjoyed doing it. Obviously, there's a shit ton of stuff in the news this week as well. I am going to thoroughly enjoy roasting CrowdStrike Monday morning. Let's just leave that there. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy roasting CrowdStrike first thing Monday morning. So Monday's going to be a huge threat brief. We'll roll from Monday into a co-working stream. I'm leaning towards taking Tuesdays off from the co-working stream. I usually end up with a lot of my meeting days ended up being on Tuesday, and so I have to pretty much be, kind of stuck into meetings. But that's okay, because BeardSec co-works on Thursday, so I don't mind handing the reins over to him and co-working as well. That's why I said Tuesday. And I said, I don't know my days of the week. God. Anyway, Wednesday, we currently have Brandon on Wednesday, but there will be a new show. There will be a new show coming in November, specifically around social engineering. So in November, we're going to have two Wednesday shows. Brandon's obviously, and then my new one that's coming out specifically around social engineering. Thursday's a grab bag, and then Friday, you guys all know about, know what's up with Friday. What about GRC? I do still want to do GRC. Listen, I'll just be honest with you. I'll just be 100% honest with you. I've not found anybody that I feel strong enough about to either have their own show or run a show with me around GRC. And it has nothing to do with like whether people agree with me or disagree with me. I can't find anybody I've got on camera chemistry with to run a GRC stream. I obviously have tons of opinions around GRC, and I've been wanting to do a GRC. If you guys remember, I was close to having somebody at the first of the year, but unfortunately deals fall through and things like that. And so we ended up having to scratch that, but I've yet to find anybody that I have good chemistry with around GRC. I am an opinionated SOB, just in case you guys weren't aware of that. And it's amazing how absolutely turned off a lot of people get. Like, it's like if you look at the people who we've had successful guests on show, look at Rick McElroy, right? Look at Joel from Lucidum, right? Look at Jeff. Look at Jason, right? They're the people who can take it and give it, giggity, at the same time. And so, I'm struggling to find a guest that can go back and forth with me on camera. Lots of good mornings over on the LinkedIn space. Sean, Boniface, Mohammed, top of the morning to all three of you over there. GRC is something I still want to do. I'm looking for the right partner. As Captain America would say, I'm just looking for the right partner. So that's the show updates. I want to give an update on the giveaway because that's something Beardsec and I fought with quite a lot this week. Beardsec can tell you, Beardsec can attest, we definitely spent about an hour together on the phone to try to figure out how to do the Hack the Box giveaways. Here's one of the things that I'm finding absolutely amazing. It used to be ridiculously easy to go to Hack the Box and try Hack Me and some of these other vendors who were trying to get their name out there, and you could buy vouchers. If you guys remember, when we were buying vouchers all the time, it was easy, man. We could go there, swipe a credit card, we'd have 10 vouchers in our mailbox, right? Beardsec and I, what I would at least say halfway smart people, like I'm not going to say we're really smart, but we got two halfway smart people to make a whole smart person, spend an hour on the phone trying to go through the Hack the Box website to figure out how to buy vouchers from Hack the Box. Hack the Box, if you see this, your voucher request process, this close, chat. Beardsec and I were this close to just go in and buying you guys, Hack the Boxes, because not Hack the Boxes, but try Hack Me. It was that frustrating. So, oh, that's right. You can't, that's the other thing. Thank you. You can't buy more than one at a time. Chat, we now live in an age of AI where SaaS providers don't allow you to buy more than one voucher at a time. I literally have to swipe the credit card 10 individual times to get 10 Hack the Box vouchers. This is somebody who knows how true that struggle is. So yes, we were a little late in buying the Hack the Box vouchers. We'll get those done today, and we'll make sure that those get up on the giveaway. So do pay attention to giveaway. Make sure you've got the notifications on in the giveaways channel. That way you do get notified when the giveaway goes live. I wondered that I wondered that, but so far that has not happened. So yes, we will be doing the Hack the Box giveaways repeat this week after that disaster. All right. I've talked a little bit about, so for those who are new, right? So for those who are new, keep the questions coming in. The mods will grab the questions, continue to add them to the queue. One of the things that I've started doing is before I come to stream or over the course of the week as I lead into the stream, I try to curate some interesting facts that are happening, across the world sphere that I think are relevant, not just to us from a cyber perspective, but what I think is relevant to you all from a professional perspective, right? And so as I share these, again, back to our assumed positive intent, that means that I read this stuff and I said, this could be interesting to the folks that are in our sphere trying to be professionals. I don't know why I'm using my phone. They're all photos. I can pull this up on my computer because I'm a dumbass. All right. So, and here's the reason why, right? Here's the reason why. For years, for quite literal years, Cyber Ties, I want to talk about that. I do want to talk about that, Cyber Ties. For literal years, one of the things that I have touted personally here on this stream has been consulting. It is no joke that I am a massive fan of consulting. I've worked at PwC at a Big Four. My wife spent 12 years at PwC, a Big Four. I've got friends in Deloitte and EY and KPMG and all over the place. Tons of friends in consulting. I'm a massive fan of consulting. I've always tried to push you guys that if I thought there was one really great starting point for most careers, consulting was definitely it. Right. Cypher Enigma, spot on. Can we put that one on as a lower third for the theme? The privilege of consulting is you get paid to learn. It is the epitome. It is the absolute epitome of getting paid to learn. And the joy of consulting is you could get tasked on 10 projects in a month with 10 different companies that have 10 different pieces of architecture strategy, 10 different cybersecurity stacks, etc. And I think that is, you get no better experience than that. You get no better experience than that in consulting. Solving 10 problems at once is literally like that is the best cyber experience you can get. So I say all that, you can hear it in my voice. Like I think consulting experience is some of the best experience that you can get. Last week, I showed you guys a video, or I shared with you guys the audio of a video from the Accenture CEO that talked about how they were revolutionizing their consulting workforce. Later that day, there was a fantastic business post that was made specifically around Accenture. And while it was made around Accenture, it's actually targeting consulting companies as a whole. And so I want to read you bits and pieces of that analysis report, so that you guys can kind of see the way that consulting is changing, right? So over the course of 2025 alone, 30% of Accenture's market cap has gone away. So if you play back last week's episode, you could go find the VOD. Maybe we can get Jens to clip it and put it out there, right? But when you look at over the course of the year, one of the driving factors to Accenture changing their stance on hiring was because over the course of 2025, they have lost 30% of their market cap. They laid off 11,000 people. And what this analyst concluded, this is the punchline here. What the analyst has concluded is that knowledge work is over. For 35 years, Accenture built a $200 billion. It's 200 with a B, hence the emphasis on the billion, right? A $200 billion enterprise selling consulting, outsourcing, and advice on how to run your business. And they really hone in on it, and they're like, they sold human labor. And they're not wrong. Cypher, Enigma, Outcast. I know you guys, I'm picking you guys because I know you guys are intimately aware of this, right? They are selling human labor. If you work 40 hours a week, that means that there are 160 available hours in a month, assuming you don't work overtime or anything else, with which you have to be 100% billable to a client. They sold human labor. And they're stating that that game is now over. Of course, because AI can do that much, can do what Accenture does in seconds. You need a strategy document, yes, AI. You need a process map, ask AI. You need a digital transformation roadmap, ask AI. You no longer need a $10 million Accenture contract. And this is where they kind of get to the brutal truth, right? Every person, every company whose value comes from reselling yesterday's method and human labor at scale is toast. Billable hours don't matter. Your pedigree doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is your ability to produce outcomes. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong. Right? They're not wrong. I've told this story to folks before, right? So when I was at PwC, this was 2015, 2016, so I don't feel like I'm giving anything away. They basically had this massive, think SharePoint equivalent site, right? Where every report they had ever generated, every proposal they had ever generated, every knowledge article they had ever worked was ever stored. Right? And so if we got brought into a new engagement, let's say we were doing an IR transformation project. Sure, I could sit there and be like, okay, how would I do an IR transformation project from scratch? But that's highly inefficient, right? What do? I go to our internal SharePoint, I search incident response transformation practices, right? I grab that information and I start to build my engagement around that. Right? Hear what I said. I have a massive SharePoint with every engagement we've ever done in the past, every proposal we've ever written, every strategy document we've ever written, everything. Everything. And when somebody asks me to come do new work, where do I go? I go to that to search for it, so that I know what it is I'm doing and how to do it. There is no self-thought there. This line is 100% correct, right? This line is 100% correct. Reselling yesterday's methods and human labor at scale. When I talk about a SharePoint full of every engagement, how is that any different than if I feed all of that knowledge into a trained model and simply ask the model for that information in SharePoint? And don't give me some shit about hallucinations. Are you saying that me searching SharePoint is 0% chance of fallibility? Right? No. Actually, I would argue asking the model is still more efficient, even with hallucinations, than having to search one document at a time in a file repository. And so they're right. Consulting relied. The reason that Big Four consulting companies were so successful is because they had a world full of knowledge at their disposal that they could then run any engagement anywhere in the globe and have a massive knowledge base at their disposal. That knowledge base has been replaced by AI. That knowledge base has been replaced by AI. Right? And so I'm still a fan. Let me just say this. I'm still a fan of consulting. But yes, the consulting world is shifting. I knew consulting would be the first place to get hit. the consulting world is definitely going to change. Yes, we talked about it last week. It was actually a topic of conversation. Or actually, was it Monday? Actually, I think it was on Monday's threat brief. It may have been Monday's threat brief. Jason and I talked about it. Yes. Deloitte Australia was forced to refund $440,000 because they cited 3 academic references in a paper to the government that did not exist. Because they used AI to write the report and didn't check the report. That's right. That's right. And CyberTice hits the nail on the head. People call a hallucination when they failed to do appropriate context engineering. And if you're a Big Four consultant and you ask AI to do a report, listen, it's not uncommon. Right? Like, again, I'll defer to my consultants in chat, right? You'll get an associate that'll put some shit in a report, and you'll read it and you'll go, man, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Where did you get this from? And you get to see that uneasy look on that associate's face where that associate's like, well, I mean, I didn't really find it explicitly on SharePoint, but what I found was I found 3 or 4 things that seemed to point that this would be an okay thing, so I just inferred it. What does that sound like to you? Doesn't that sound exactly like what hallucinations are? That's it. That's all, right? Hallucinations have been happening in consulting for decades. What ends up happening is that you end up with a managing director, a director, and a partner that reads a report and goes, this doesn't sound right. Did you check this? That's what failed in the Deloitte situation, right? That's what failed in the Deloitte situation. Not to say that, again, AI is not infallible. I'm not here to say AI is not infallible, but the check and balance failed. The reason you pay a partner $1,500 an hour on an engagement is for them to read the report and go, this doesn't sound right. It sounds like that partner didn't do what they were paid to do. Speaking of partners, I'm going to give this image to Beard, and he can decide where to put it. I have at my hands a report that some partner at McKinsey decided to put together. McKinsey's another well-known consulting company. They are considered to be the Bentley of consulting companies, meaning only the best of the best can afford them, but when you look at them, they just happen to be mostly mediocre. It says organizations engaging in given generative AI practices, and thank you. They've broken it down into organizations with 500 million or more in revenue and smaller organizations, right? And I'm not going to read all of these. You can see the picture in general chat on Discord. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 12 categories here. I don't want to track all 12 categories. Wow. Why did they decide to do the fucking leaf blowing on Friday morning for a stream? Okay. Apologize to chat. It's like Jason's hamster on Monday. Like Jason's hamster on Monday. Was that hamster not ridiculous? I did have a conversation with him about that hamster, by the way. I think it was a dog. Okay. Anyway, so back, rabbit hole, pivot, ADHD. Anyway, so McKinsey released this report, And I want to show you some interesting statistics, right? Because there's one of the ones that I think is super, super interesting. 52%, and you can see this inside of general chat. So if you go to Discord and look in general chat, you can see the chart that I'm talking about. If you can't right now, that's why I'm going to talk to you about some of the ones I thought were important, right? 52% of organizations that are over $500 million or more in revenue have established a dedicated team to drive AI adoption. I don't think that comes as a shocker, but I think that shows just how serious the AI adoption is in the modern world. And congrats to Bayou Beast, by the way, for getting asked to be put on a steering committee for AI in his organization. That is going to be massive for his career. That is going to be massive for his career, right? Absolutely massive. 28% of organizations that are $500 million or more of annual revenue, 28% have embedded Gen AI solutions into business processes effectively. Effectively. That's the key metric there, effectively. What does that mean? That means that they are seeing actual results as a result of those processes being in there. Right? I think the one that's super interesting is the very, very last one on lower right-hand corner. The percentage of companies that have established employee incentives that reinforce generative AI adoption. Read that one closely, right? Established employee incentives that reinforce adoption. Now, it's almost even, except that small businesses, smaller organizations, inched out by a percentage. 12% of smaller organizations have established employee incentives to reinforce AI adoption. Drop it in chat why you think that is, why you think that stat is the most important one. But that is the one that I took away. And I've mentioned this before on stream, right? Microsoft has started to rope into their performance plans your use of AI in Microsoft as a metric for your performance, for your yearly performance. So good stat there for McKinsey. There is one more video that I want to play. This one is 4 minutes, and I don't know that I'm going to play all 4 minutes of it. Mostly because my ADHD won't allow me to play it. I mean, I can if you guys think it's interesting. It's Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI, and he talks about 3 main categories. Yeah, that was Sam Altman. He is a shitty speaker. That's one of the reasons why this clip is 4 minutes long, is because he's a shitty speaker, right? He is the epitome of shitty speakers. He talks about the 3 ways in which AI can take over the world, accidentally take over the world in a couple different ways, right? Right? He talks about the first being some world power out there goes out and explicitly creates AI to do bad shit. Right? He's like, we know that that's a reality. There could be, this is weaponry 101, right? Whether you're talking about, a bioweapon, a nuclear weapon, a psychological weapon, it doesn't matter. Every country is out there trying to create, an AI weapon, right? So he talks about that. He says that there is the second case where AI takes over the world, right? Which is the case where AI develops a thought of its own and says, I'm now no longer going to listen to you. I'm going to do my own thing, right? I think that's what we all proverbially refer to as Skynet. But this last one, I want you to hear it from his voice. This is the third way that he talks about AI taking over the world. So everybody get ready to tune in and listen to this.
You can...
Whoops.
The way this happens by thinking about what's happening with ChatGPT. So hundreds of millions of people talk to ChatGPT, soon billions. And people are relying on it for more and more important decisions in their lives and their work and whatever. And as these models get smarter, maybe right now you ask ChatGPT for advice about your job, and sometimes it gives you good ideas and sometimes it doesn't. You certainly probably wouldn't let it do your job. But let's say it gets smarter and smarter and it gives you advice that you still understand, but now you think you should follow almost all the time. And then it gets smarter again. And now it gives you advice you don't understand. You're like, why is that the right thing to do? But it turns out to be right again and again because it can like see around corners you can't. And now you either follow the advice that you don't understand or you are less competitive than your peers. And so the model has no ill will. It's really just trying to help you. You're trying to do good work. But like, you're like, if I want to be competitive, if I want to succeed in the world, if I want to live my best life, I kind of have to follow the advice of the model. And so does everybody else. So do the billions of other people talking to the model. So now we're all just doing what an AI system tells us to do. Or, the ones of us that want to be most competitive are. And we are creating new training data that's going back into the model. It's continuing to learn about society. All of society, all of the economy, and the model keep going in this sort of improvement loop. And who's really in control of that? It's like a kind of collective thing, but it does mean we're like now doing what the model wants us to do somehow, for a very broad definition of once.
So he's not wrong, right? If you hear what he says there, right? What he's saying there is kind of what we're seeing in the world today, right? Which is, we're being asked, aka forced in some cases, to use various models for our job, and we're being incentivized to do so. There's the competitive part, right? Everybody here wants to get pay raise. Everybody here wants to continue to work. Everybody here wants to, continue to be a contributing member and get paid and buy Ferraris and stuff like that. Because I know that, that's what social media would tell us that, that everybody's doing is buying Ferraris these days, right? And so if you're being asked to leverage AI and you're being asked to be competitive and AI is your competitive advantage, now everybody is going to the AI and everybody is getting the advice of the model and everybody is using that as a competitive advantage. And now you are being controlled by the model. That's a sad thing to think about. One of the things I like about Sam Altman, despite the fact that he is an absolute shitty person to listen to, I can't listen to his podcast. Anytime he gives a podcast, I cannot listen to a podcast. I can listen to snippets of him. Like I said, that was 4 minutes. I just told you the one that I thought was the most important out of there, but it was 4 minutes for him to convey that point. As I've had the privilege of diving into this for the last 10-ish or so months, right? I've developed a few thoughts that are very kind of like akin to this perspective, right? E-Curve, you just happened to come in as we hit the AI topic. We actually talked about a shit ton of other stuff for the last hour. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. There is going to be a large chunk of people who are absolutely going to do nothing but do their jobs day in and day out based on what the models tell them to do. right? eCurve talks about it in chat. BeardSec talks about it in chat. I think we've all kind of talked about it as well. I think that there's the value that humans possess that an AI will never be able to possess is actual lived experiences and emotional empathy. Right? Emotional human empathy. An AI can't make risk decisions, as weird as that sounds. We've seen this. I mean, we've talked about this before, right? An AI has to be computationally directed in how it decides risk. When I say emotional empathy, Callie, I'm talking gut feeling. CEOs, as calculated as we make them, rely heavily on intuition and gut feeling. Right? Yes, there's a lot of business decision, but at the end of the day, a CEO has to sit down and go, do I think this risk is worth it? Do I think this risk could be better for us as a business? And sure, an AI can say, well, based on all the factors available, I think this is a low risk. Yes, an AI can do that. And maybe, listen, I've been doing AI trading since Jeep Beach, since March. I created a bot to do AI trading. Right? And it's about 50 to 60% right. Right? In most cases, when it comes to analyzing raw technical factors and highlighting technical likelihoods. Right? Listen to the words I'm saying there, technical likelihoods. But at the end of the day, I'm the one who has to hit trade. I'm the one who has to accept the finance. I am the one who fiscally has to accept whether that decision to make that trade was emotionally driven. And if it loses money, I'm the one who has to emotionally suffer. And so I say all that to say, that's where I think we maintain our ability to not be controlled by the models that our organizations force us to rely on. Listen, I'm here to tell you, you should be using AI. I use AI daily for a multitude of things. You should be if you're not already doing it. But as BeardSec and eCurve have been the two loudest voices about this, I want to echo what it is that they say, which is you need to maintain your understanding of all things, right? You need to understand how these systems work. You need to understand how all systems work. You need to understand them, not just use them. You need to understand how they work. And you need to not lose whatever critical thinking you have established for yourself and continue to use that critical thinking, because that critical thinking, while AI can be highly accurate as a probabilistic solution tool, it is, at the end of the day, just a tool. It can be the best tool in our toolbox, and we can love it every day, and you should. But remember that the thing that makes you human is the thing that no AI will ever be able to take from you. And that's the thing that's going to give you an advantage every single day. As cynical as we can be about, like, no, you not being human is a value to the business. Businesses don't care about humans. Like, you could say that all day long. We know that's not true. Right? So, with that being said, that was the, that was the last of the curated data that I had from my research this week. Hopefully there's some questions that we can move to. I see one over on LinkedIn. Sir, can you tell me what's the best way to find cross-site scripting file uploading vulnerabilities on AI? No. AI, listen, I said this a couple weeks ago, right? No, I can't. You know why? Because AI is trained on everything that is known about cross-site scripting today. Right? So I can't tell you anything that AI wouldn't tell you, because the only thing that's out there is the stuff that's already known. You want to know how to go find cross-site scripting file uploading vulnerabilities? Go research OWASP top 10, go read some bug bounty reports, and go figure it out. You know why? Because that's what AI did. Talk about Agent Kit. All right, fine. One more AI thing to talk about. So this week, OpenAI had Dev Day. You guys know that I'm a massive fan of N8N. N8N. There, I put it in chat because it sounds weird to come off the mat. N8N. Now, listen. N8N isn't magical. Let me just unequivocally say, right? N8N is awesome, but it's not like it's unique. It's not like there's any intellectual property there that, that nobody could build. As a matter of fact, Zapier built it, Make built it. We've had SOAR tools in cybersecurity for years, Phantom, Demisto, right? Simplify for years, right? The reason I like N8N is because I do enjoy the balance between the no-code environment and it is dev-friendly. And so when I want to write code, I can write code. And when I don't want to write code, I don't have to. Case in point, it has an amazing JavaScript and Python code transformation node that allows you to write JavaScript or Python by hand to transform the nodes to transform the data coming out of one node to send it to the next node. It's awesome. It's fantastic. But you know what I hate? I absolutely hate writing API calls. Absolutely hate writing API calls. And so it does a fantastic job of giving me out-the-box integrations for API calls. Getting closer to showing you some of my N8N content, Callie. I showed some of it to Beard yesterday as I was doing a dry run of how to present some of the content that I've been working on. So, again, back to my own, cyber insecurities and my own imposter syndrome. I did give a dry run of some of the way that I want to present some of this content to Beard yesterday. I use the way that I use these workflows is, again, the way that I preach them to you. So when I talk to you about them, it's because this is how I use them. Right? This is how I use them. This is how I see them beneficial. So I'm a single man, security person at a startup, right? And I'm everything from the security analyst all the way up to the CISO, right? And so if you do the job, if you're in security and you do the job, I have to do that job. And then I probably have to do the jobs of your peers around you that are doing those jobs, those other jobs as well, right? So I'm doing incident response, I'm doing vulnerability management, I'm doing GRC stuff, I've got a TPRM form I've got to do, I've got a board meeting coming up, I've got a board presentation, you name it, I've got to do it, right? So it behooves me, right? It behooves me to find tools, back to our comment about tools, that allow me a force multiplier to create multiple versions of Neal. We're going to have multiple versions of Neal. It's going to happen. We're out of coffee, chat. We're out of coffee. Time to move to pre-workout. CyberSec Mom, good to see you. Thanks as always for dropping in and starting the hype train. You're the bestest. So obviously, when OpenAI announced that, and she drops 5 more gifted subs on her way out the door. Thank you so much, CyberSec Mom. I love you. You're awesome. So obviously, when OpenAI announced at Dev Day that they were going to be releasing Agent Kit, which was their workflow tool, I was pretty excited. Right? Let me kind of explain to you what gets me excited about tools. Wow. Let's not clip that one, chat. Let's not clip that one. I love single source integration. When I say single source integration, I don't want to have to use one tool for this and then another tool for that and then another tool for this. I like the tool where I can change out the heads. God, this one's getting bad. Right? I'll use this tool for this, and then I'll change out the adapter, and I'll use the same tool for that. I'm just changing out the adapter, and I just use the same tool. I like that because I don't like a lot of context switching. As an ADHD person, I don't want to have 50 tools up on my screen. I don't want to have 50 tools up on my screen and have to context switch between all of them to get an answer to a question, right? I absolutely despise that whatsoever, right? And so for that reason alone, when I looked at Agent Kit, there were things that I was happy about with Agent Kit, and I felt like it was a good first effort of OpenAI to do Agent Kit, but I'm still an N8N fanboy. Agent Kit's interesting. Here's what I did take away from Agent Kit, and I encourage you to go look at it. If you've got API access to OpenAI as a platform, go take a look at Agent Kit. It's totally worth taking a look at so you can see its capabilities. What I did like about it, I learned something new from playing with Agent Kit. For the tool lulz. Scooter from space dropped 100 bits for the tool lulz. Thank you so much. What I did like about it, I learned something new. I'm not sure how many people know this. Did you know that there is an OpenAI model for moderation? Right? There's a dedicated model for moderation, meaning you can take a prompt and you can send the prompt to a model that will analyze the prompt to see if it violates any moderation settings that you tell the prompt to take a look at. So instead of having to write your own failsafe, instead of having to write your own content filtering on prompting, you can have a model that does it for you. And I think that's actually pretty awesome. I think I was unaware that existed inside of the OpenAI models. So I now have a way to now I'm gonna start using that to kind of do some of my prompt engineering, right? The other thing that I thought was interesting that I think is actually pretty neat that OpenAI did, they have a node. So for my folks who are used to working inside of N8N, nodes are kind of like the individual tools, if you will, the individual adapter heads inside of N8N that make it awesome. They have a node inside of N8N, or excuse me, they have a node inside of Agent Kit specifically for guardrails. Here comes the cybersecurity tangent, parallelism for those who are like, why the fuck is Neal talking about, developer-based stuff when we're on a cybersecurity stream? This is the cybersecurity related piece. They have a node inside of OpenAI specifically around guardrails. What should every hacker be thinking about when they see something that is explicitly designed to stop you from doing something malicious? What do you think you should do, chat? Sounds like a great opportunity for a bug bounty program. And lo and behold, OpenAI has a bug bounty program. Google just dropped their AI bug bounty program. How would you love to have to your LinkedIn tagline that you've got successful AI bug bounties attached to your name? So I would highly encourage you to go learn Agent Kit, go play with its guardrail features, and in a responsible disclosure fashion, look for opportunities to bypass in your own agents in a responsible disclosure fashion. How would you bypass OpenAI's guardrail capabilities? We're talking about guardrails where checks for prompt injection, it checks for prompt escapes, it checks for all the common, prompt engineering, context engineering type of apparatus to it. But this is why I encourage you guys to get in on these features and capabilities and get in on these technologies, is because, like AgentKit, they're building security into these workflows. I think that's a fantastic opportunity for a responsible community, especially an eager community that loves to learn and educate themselves on cybersecurity, in an area where we just talked about how 50% or more of organizations are making Gen AI a priority, how you should become a cyber expert on these controls. Doesn't that sound like the type of person you would want to have working for your company if you are largely pushing a Gen AI initiative? Do you think you want somebody who, is taking Sec Plus? Or do you want somebody who's on the leading edge and who's forward-leaning and is working on Gen AI issues in your AI-forward company? Right? So, definitely check out Matthew over on LinkedIn says, in the context of AI, it's prompt injection attacks that you have to worry about. Prompt injection attacks are one of them, right? MCP is still, like, I'm a huge fan of MCP. Right? Right? I'm a huge fan of MCP. Now, listen, I'm a huge fan of MCP. Are there configuration challenges that make MCP vulnerable? Yes, there are. Does that mean that MCP is not awesome? No, it does not. Right? The two things can exist together. The two things can exist together. So MCP is huge. There are more people building MCP than there are people consuming MCP, but I can unequivocally tell you from the business conversations that I am having, right? From the conversations that I am having, most organizations are still also using MCP as well. I did, and I think so yes, I did see this. Do I think there might be a better way to use tools? Yes. But I think MCP is the groundwork that says we need a better way to interact with tools. So yes, I still agree with both, and I still think MCP is a valuable implementation. Do I think MCP is in its final form? Absolutely not. So for those who don't understand what MCP is, we're talking Model Context Protocol. It's a way in which models can interact with the APIs of technologies. It's basically an API translator for models, right? I think that there will be an evolution of how models talk to tools. We see a little bit of this with OpenAI, again, on their dev day. They're creating a marketplace with their AI toolkit where Spotify, Expedia, DoorDash, right? All those companies are building tools to go into OpenAI's marketplace so that they can use AgentKit to interact with those tools. That gives you kind of an indication in which way you can kind of see. Listen, you're not going to like this. This is going to be one of those shitty statements that I have to make. Sam Altman came out recently on a everybody know what Sora 2 is, right? Sora 2 is the new graphics generation, if you will, that OpenAI released, that's apparently probably threatening to replace Hollywood. Although from people who have talked about Tron Ares in theater, they've asked why Sora 2 wasn't used instead. Apparently it was that bad, which sucks because I'm a huge Tron fan. Rip Jeff Bridges. Anyway, Sam Altman has said even they didn't realize how fucking expensive it was for Sora 2 to make a single video. Right? And he has said, he was very open. He says, we have to find a new way of monetization because they can't keep losing money on Sora 2 video creation. Right? So a marketplace for agents, for tools that gets used in workflows seems like a pretty obvious direction in which it's trying to head. And this goes in line with what you'd said earlier, CyberTies, about AgentKit, where you can't use outside models. The only models you can use are OpenAI models. They're creating a closed source ecosystem where if you use AgentKit, you have to use it inside the OpenAI ecosystem, and there is no deviation from it whatsoever. But I do think MCP has paved the way for an understanding on how models have to use tools. And yes, that affects everything from context size to hallucinations to everything like that. So, definitely worth investing some understanding into that topic. I did that one. Thoughts on OpenAI agent flow versus N8N. All right, let's pivot away from some of the AI stuff here a little bit. My brain needs a pivot away from AI for a moment. Cyber Insecurity. Oh, I just now saw that one. Okay, we'll do that one next. I just earned my Sec Plus. I have the CompTIA trifecta. Should I start applying to help desk? Why? I mean, listen. Oh, don't do it, Neal. Don't do it, Neal. Apply to everything. Just do it. Just do it. Just apply to all of it. Just apply to everything. Why does it have to be help desk? Right? Fucking apply to everything. Apply to security jobs. Why? Don't chat. Self-limitation. Why do we have to self-limit our capabilities? Why wouldn't you apply to all the fucking things? Apply to everything, right? Like, this isn't the Boy Scouts. There's no fucking, help desk merit badge, right? That the industry says that you have to have before you go. I know that's what some million view YouTuber who flips out a Flipper Zero and changes the sign at an airport thinks that you have to do, right? But this, go ahead. Go to help desk. Make room for all the other cybersecurity professionals that have some drive and some motivation that want to put themselves out there, right? Come on now. You're better than this. And I know it. You went out, I may not be a fan of CompTIA. I make no qualms about ScamTIA's business model, but you already have the 3 certs. Why not just start applying? Right? Don't put limitations on yourself. Please. It's not the only way. Exactly. We hear it a lot, and I get it. I know it gets said a lot. But just because it gets said a lot doesn't mean it's true. Right? The world has changed. Dramatically. Listen. Oh, who was it? Where's Residual at? Residual's working. Residual is being asked to lead a team of AI security engineers, AI agent security engineers. You don't need an A plus or a Net plus or a SEC plus to do that. You don't need a help desk job to do that. This mentality, like the visible frustration I have is because this idea of working in a help desk first is how everybody who is currently in cybersecurity got started. And so they think, well, this is how I did it. So therefore, because I had to suck dirt and go work at a help desk first, you have to suck dirt and go work in a help desk first. And that's it. That's it. That is the only reason that is why it's touted. And it's exactly for what BeardSec says. Back then, there was no formal security team. Right? There was no formal security team. And so since there was no formal security team, you were the security analyst. You had to answer password questions in the same call that you had to answer printer questions. And anybody who says working in help desk teaches you how systems work is a fucking liar. Especially today. You know how help desk works now? Hi, Mr. Neal, I've got a problem with my printer. Customer has printer issues, AI. What do I do to troubleshoot? Ask the user. Did they do this? Did they do this? Did they do this? Hi, Mr. User. Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? No, you didn't. Hey, Mr. AI, the user didn't do any of those things. What now? Right? Whether it's AI or not, it's a knowledge base of already solved issues. You'll be lucky if in 5 years there isn't a single help desk person and they're all replaced with AI. 100%. Because it is a database of solved issues where you follow steps to get it troubleshot. Right? Same as, exactly, Dosco, right? There was a time when one person could do all the repairs on your car, and we bought a brand new Mercedes. We bought a 2025 Mercedes that had the check engine light come on 72 hours after we drove it off the lot. You guys, some of you who are here remember this story. It took them a week to fix it because they had to send the computer diagnostics to Germany for the AMG engineers to opine upon how to fix the car. Help desk is so underrated, or so overrated. Right? So overrated. It is, when here's what I'll tell you. Whenever you hear anybody say you have to start in help desk first, they're either an old fuck, like me, and I say that to all my fellow old fucks out there, or there's somebody who is young and new in cyber who got told that and did it, and it was success through correlation, and it had nothing to do with actually being in help desk. That's right. It is a job. That's it. Period. End of discussion. It is a very corporate old style mentality. I will die on that hill all day long. This community right here is proof positive that that is an old mentality. You do not You do not have to do that these days at all. Thank you for the soapbox. I appreciated that. Let's move on to Windows 10 reaching end of life from our good friend Tails out of Singapore. Hopefully he went to bed. What do you suggest? Are we really going to move over to Windows 11 or are we shifting over to Linux or Mac? This may come as a shocker to some of you, but an operating system being end of life doesn't mean shit. I'll wait for all of the cyber nihilists to stop crying before I move on. I get it. Right? Yeah, the VA still uses Vista. I tell the story all the time, right? Like I had to do an assessment on a manufacturing line where the first computer in line was still running Windows NT, and that production line produces $10 million of product a day, right? Like I'm telling you, end of life is like NIST releasing another standard. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. I could do another one. Windows 10 being end of life is like you putting in a policy that says RDP shouldn't be allowed to the internet. It just doesn't matter to the business. Right? Listen. That's right. Who's Neal gonna shit on next this morning? Cyber folks are the biggest snobs when it comes to end of life operating systems. Right? I'm just going to call it like it is. Gasp! You've got Windows XP in your network. Oh no, the travesty. I swear some of you haven't spent a day in business whenever I like see comments like this. Not you specifically, Tails. I know you're more pragmatic. You've been here for a minute. You know, you understand, right? Does anybody remember WannaCry? I know that may age me a lot, right? You know, for some of our chat audience in this industry, right? But anybody remember WannaCry? Microsoft released emergency patches for end-of-life servers when WannaCry hit. They were like, that's a problem, and our software is impacted, and we do not want this to look bad on us, and we know that not everybody can fix this. And they were like, here's a free patch on us. Here's a free patch on us. We know that that's end of life. We know we were going to charge you $1 million a year to keep giving you security patches. This one's free. Right? Right? So if it's bad enough, right? Even Microsoft's like, here's a patch. Right? End of life is a money grab. No doubt about it. End of life is absolutely a money grab. There are some merits to, you know, I mean, listen, every company has to decide when they want to stop supporting software, just like every company has to decide that a vulnerability is not a vulnerability, it's an issue. RIP CrowdStrike. I'll talk about that on Monday. I'm not going to do it now. Right? The business will never, ever adopt Linux. Like, you guys have no idea of all the years that I've been in this industry, there will never be, never, ever, ever will there be a Linux desktop on the CEO's admin's desk. Ever, ever, ever will there ever be a Linux desktop. You will never have Ubuntu on the admin's desktop. Ever. Ever. And Callie's dream is for it to be Arch. Okay. Why? Why? Because whether you admit it or not, Linux is never, ever going to be admin friendly. OpenOffice will never be admin friendly and will never, ever, ever be compatible with Office. Right? It will never be compatible. Right? All you Linux lovers can all talk about all the reasons why Linux is the greatest thing in the world. If you can't sit the admin in front of it and for them to go, I know exactly how this works, I can jump in here and use this. Listen, I'll tell you a story. And I'll use my own mother on this. Like, if my mom was here, she'd love this story because I talk to her about it all the time. I want you to understand something. When I say I grew up in computers, I want you to understand how explicitly I grew up in computers, right? My dad was the comp science director for Wake County Public School System. My dad brought internet into schools in the 90s. My dad brought home one of the first HTML books, gave it to my mom and I, and said, you guys need to learn this because this is going to be the future of how we interact with the world. And sure as fucking shit, my mom built an entire business writing. I mean, she was one of the first web app developers building web applications for North Carolina State University and hundreds of businesses in Wake County by herself. And this was the 90s, y'all. This wasn't a couple years ago. This was arguably still in a largely male-dominated industry. My mom was out there running her own business, writing HTML code for hundreds of businesses in the Wake County area. My mom was a Fedora fan. She did everything on Linux in the 90s. It was Red Hat in the 90s. Then when Fedora forked off of Red Hat, she adopted Fedora, and she's been a Fedora fan ever since. And my mom is in her 70s right now. And she still, to this day, uses Fedora for everything. My mom could probably Linux nuance every single person in this chat 9 ways to Sunday. I guarantee you, my mom is that fucking smart about Linux. She asked me if I had any extra computers. This was 6 or 7 months ago. Asked me if I had any computers sitting around. I said, yeah, I've got a couple of extra MacBook Pros sitting in the closet. Do you want a MacBook Pro? And she was like, ooh, no, I don't want a MacBook Pro. And I was like, why? And she goes, because I'd have to learn how to use it. I said, Mom, you realize that it's just BSD underneath. Yeah, but it's just a Mac, right? It's I'd have to learn how to use something different. That mentality, whether you like it or not, is the number one reason why you will never, ever, ever see Linux on the desktop environment of an enterprise. Right? Even Linux people only go with what they know and what they've ever been taught in school, what they've ever been taught in college, what they grew up with, what they developed a comfort level with. Right? Operating systems are just tools, but at the end of the day, right? If the admin is like, I can't schedule the CEO's private planes, I can't type up this, pretty PowerPoint on, to get ready for the street. If I've got to open up a terminal to modify a config file because something doesn't work, if every time IT pushes updates, half the shit has to have the kernel recompiled, thank you very little, VMware. The administration of a Linux environment is an enterprise nightmare. It's not smooth brains. Like, you could say that all day long. You could try to be elitist about this all day long. It's not smooth brains. If you haven't... Microsoft does it about like once a year. Linux does it every single time they fucking make a change to the kernel. Right? Now this is different for nerds, right? Like, obviously, when it comes to us cyber folks, like, Linux is almost like a day-to-day usage. Right? I do think most organizations are closer to going to all Macs, right? I mean, listen, I've got Linux devices, that I administer here at Query, right? Yeah, just thinking about the repos correctly, yeah. They tried. That's what Chromebooks were, right? Someone could build a system to be noob friendly on Linux, though. That's what Chromebooks tried to be. And it's getting there, but it's still not great. You will never convince me. This is, again, we can continue to have civil discourse all day long. This is just my opinion. I see all of your feedback, right? I see Matthew over on LinkedIn. Not right. I used blah, 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 blah. Now I use Arch, by the way. Yay, another Arch nihilist who thinks that they're better than the rest of the world. And Zorin for my Windows-friendly users. Good for you. Good for fucking you, right? Like, my opinion is, as long as the rest of the world is still using Windows, it's because it will be far and away easier 9 times out of 10 to do it. Exceptions don't make the rule, right? Arch people aren't better than the rest of the world, we're just better than Mac users. Spoken like a true Arch person. Yeah. You'll never see it. You'll never see it. You guys are worse than flat earthers. I'm just serious. Like, I know the Linux conversation is polarizing, but some of y'all are delusional. You ever seen that meme? Delulu? Delulu is not the Salulu. Delulu is not the Salulu. Okay? You guys can be delusional all you want with your arch nihilist and your Linux maxis, right? Like, you're fighting, like, if this is the hill you want to die on in cyber, this is the reason why cyber can't get shit done, right? You'd rather die on a hill that says, oh, everybody should use Linux. You think Linux doesn't have end of life? Right? Oh, Linux end of life's better than Windows end of life. That's why we still have AS400s out there, right? That's why we still have Linux servers that are on Red Hat 2. Yeah. You'll never ever convince me of that one. This is why we have civil discourse here on this stream. We can all agree to disagree. Typically speaking, like, don't fret the end of life stuff. Like, it will be a part of your existence forever. All right. End of life is here to stay. First one to die says, God, I love that name. How would you suggest starting a consulting business, general cyber compliance, while still having a full-time in the office 5 days a week job? Any tips? Looking great, by the way. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I put on a little bit of weight. I'm hitting a plateau weight-wise, where I can't lose anymore unless I significantly drop my calorie intake. And if I significantly drop my calorie intake, I'll pretty much die because I burn a shit ton of calories during the day. So I've kind of hit this like weird little plateau on my diet. So I'm going to caveat this by saying, if you have zero experience in cyber, do not start a consulting company. Do not start a consulting company. If you have experience in cyber, now listen, one of the things that I think is valuable about consultants is lived experience. If you have zero lived experience in cyber, in this day of AI, and you come and say, hey, I'm going to consult with you on a project, I'm going to be like, what's your experience? Oh, I've got none. Then why wouldn't I use AI? So, the first question you should be asking yourself, the first tip that I've got for you, is in the least imposter syndrome-y way, ask yourself what you have that AI currently can't do. For me, it's easy. AI does not have my lived experiences. Now, that's okay, right? Because if somebody says, well, Neal, I don't really actually care about your lived experiences. Cool, you're not a client, I'm moving on. Because I can tell you that most of the clients that I have want me explicitly for my lived experiences. The people that I work for, the people that I've always worked for, want me explicitly for my lived experiences. Knowing who you sell to is super important in consulting, right? There are people who simply want check the box security. right? Go take their money all day long. What did Neal just say? That's right. If you have zero experience in cyber and you want to start your own company, be real with yourself and go target people who simply want to check the box. Why? Because they don't give a shit if you got 0 years experience or 20. They just need a box checker. Neal, I'd never work for somebody like that. I want them to care about security. If they care about security, they're going to care that you have zero experience. You may not like that answer, but let me say it again. The people who care about security will not hire you because you have zero experience, because they care about security. The people who don't care about security do not care about your experiences. Right? Right? So know your clientele. Know your clientele. Know who you're selling to. If you're in the office 5 days a week, it doesn't take you more than, like, you could, if we simply just limited this to your lunch hour, 12 to 1 o'clock, you can establish your business, get it up and running, have a website up and running in an hour a day. In the nights and the evenings, you can have everything that you need to get it up and running. The hardest part of your day will be client acquisition. At some point in time, you have to get on the phone with somebody and you have to convince them, and you probably have to get on multiple phone calls with them, and you have to convince them that your way of seeing the security world is the right way. And then in convincing them that your way of seeing the world is the right way, you have to then convince them that the rate that you're going to charge is worth paying for. You're going to do all of that before you ever do any actual security work. And I would argue that that is 60 to 70% of your time. And doing the actual security work is 40% of your time. Right? You will spend, and this goes, I would say this for any business. You talk to any business owner, most of their time is spent on the actual business operation, not doing the actual cyber work. Listen, there's a reason why I don't push my cyber business as much as I did. Right? When I first started it in 2015, it was a pain in the ass. And yes, when you got clients in, I made a shit ton of money running my cyber business at the same time that I was that I had a full-time job at a Fortune 100. One of the reasons I got burnt out was doing them both at the same time. Some people have asked me, well, Neal, if you're making so much money, why didn't you stop working full time and do your own business? Because I didn't want to do the client acquisition side of my business. Because it's not fun. Client acquisition is not fun. My escape plan for Query is to do my own business. Sure. But you know, the first phone calls that I make are going to be to people that I know. And I'll be like, hey, do you need anything? I mean, obviously I won't say it like that. I'll say it in a much more salesy type of fashion. But I'm going to call the people that I know, because then I don't have to try to sell them on anything. They already know me. Yeah. I do not recommend starting a consulting company, and I do not recommend starting a business while you have a full-time job. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, and that doesn't mean that it can't be done. It means you need to strap the fuck in and you need to start grinding, because trying to run a business and a full-time job and staying sharp for both of those is a chore. It is an absolute chore. It is like, go be Elon Musk. And when I say go be Elon Musk, you sleep on the floor of the warehouse. You literally wake up, work, go to sleep. Wake up, work, go to sleep. Wake up, work, go to sleep. Right? Like that is it. That is it. Be real. Like it is not for the faint of heart. Can you do it? Absolutely. There's wake up, do K, go to work, go to sleep. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right, E-Curve. I mean, like I said, I had a massive, like when I was doing it, that was the first time I had a health issue with my heart. Right? Now, I had a lot of other unhealthy habits at the same time. Like I wasn't doing K, but I was on Adderall pretty hard. Right? I was traveling all over the globe. Like I was in Chicago, then I was in London, then I was in Bucharest, then I was in China, then I was in India and the Philippines, or not the Philippines, Malaysia, then I was back in Chicago, and I was traveling all over the globe and running a business and on Adderall and sleeping like less than 4 hours a night. It does. It takes a lot of energy out of you. It takes a lot of energy out of you. So, get ready to strap in. Now listen, that's me talking obviously quite negative about it, right? Right? Does it have its benefits? It does. It does, right? There's definitely some merit to being your own boss. You get to pick and choose your clients. You get to pick and choose, the work that you do. You get to pick and choose, the money you make. You get to decide when you get to go on vacation. All of those things are true. You get to have complete and total ownership. You get to have complete and total ownership of everything that you do. Right? You have to decide for yourself what works for you and what doesn't. Right? You have to make those decisions about, this is the Windows end of life conversation, but for your life. Right? What is the risk that you're willing to take What is the risk you're willing to take to have the things that you want? It does. It takes way less effort to work for an org. Right? If you work for an org, you can hang out in the corner and have a day where you don't do crap and still get paid for it. And when you're a consultant for yourself on your own business, you can't have a day where you don't work for yourself. If you decide not to work that day, your business doesn't work. Passive income is not a real thing. There is nothing passive about income. This is not to discourage anybody from starting their own business. You know us, real conversations with real people. Be aware of what you're walking into. LinkedIn says, ugh, your language is too gratuitously abrasive for my taste. Sorry, mate. Cheers. Have a good day. I am who I am. I will not apologize for being me. If the only reason you listen to me is because I talk with fluffy rainbows and pretty language and voice and it doesn't hurt your feelings, you're in the wrong chat. Right? Listen, I think Outcast said it great last week. I'm a CISO and a hacker who streams. I'm not a streamer. If you're not here, I don't care. I'm not making money off of this. Right? I'm here to give my life experiences to people who want to hear my voice. Right? It's better to have real conversations than to have gurus that preach starting a 6 to 7 figure business in 3 months. Yeah, but that's also why I don't have a million followers, is because I'm not like getting you all to come take my $9.99 course to make 6 to 7 figures in 3 months. For what it's worth, I love hearing your voice, homie. It's the perfect backdrop for chaos. Thank you so very much. You missed it. What is this you're supposed to be apologizing for? Somebody on LinkedIn said, ugh, your language is too gratuitously abrasive for my taste. Gratuitously abrasive for my taste. Chat, I am gratuitously abrasive. Life sucks like that. Wait till you get a hold of some chat. Exactly. Cybersec mom, before she took off, ethical dilemma for AI. If you're driving a car with an infant and an old man crosses the road, you can only save the infant or the old man. Which would you save? I mean, listen, I still think the AI would do a deterministic probability of which one's better, and I think that's the problem. Right? I think that's the problem. Jack over on YouTube says, been stuck in help desk for 4 years. Ouch. Thinking of going back to school to finish out my master's in cyber using the GI Bill to see if I can get out of this hellhole. Jack, I empathize with you. Stuck in help desk for 4 years. I'm terribly, terribly sorry about that. Right? I don't know how old you are, Jack. So I'm going to pick apart a couple of the things that you said. And the reason I bring up age is because I don't know how much longer you've got. Right? I don't know how much longer you've got. Right? If you're in your 50s going back to school for your GI Bill for a master's in cyber, that's a lot of effort for little return. Just my opinion. Right? If you're still pretty young, and by young, I mean, you did a tour in the military, you're 20-something, 30-something, 40-something, you've got time to spend towards getting a master's, I think you can still make a pretty good inroads to a career with a master's, right? My comment about age has nothing to do with learn. You know that if you've been on this channel for any minute, you're never too old to be in cyber. Right? You're never too old to be in cyber. My age conversation comes from, are you too old to spend 4 years getting a master's degree and have an awesome time when you come out the other side of it? That's my question. And it's more a referendum, as Fixit says, do you love school or not? Right? Do you love school or not? I'm not a fan of school. And I can understand the appeal of getting your master's degree, thinking that it'll get you out of the hellhole of help desk. So what I'm about to say to you is more a referendum on that than it is about your age, right? Learning is fun, school sucks. I do not think you need a master's to leave help desk. Let me just say that unequivocally. I do not think that you need a master's, Jack, to leave help desk. What I think is you need networking. You need friends. This job market sucks. This job market sucks. A master's degree will not help you in this job market. Dosco, you can't have friends. I've seen your Twitter feed. You can't have friends. This is a job market that favors your network. I've talked about it extensively on stream. I've showed you cases and cases and cases where that has been true. This is a job market that rewards connections, not knowledge. That may hurt some of your feelings. I don't apologize. This is a job market that rewards friends. And this is, I love this mentality. You'll never hear me fight against this mentality here. Starting in 3 days, I'm utilizing my GI Bill for my MS and comp sci, but I'm doing it for everything but getting a job. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're getting a degree, because listen, let me make something expressly clear. I do not have a degree. I barely call the 2 community college of the Air Force degrees I have a degree, because the Air Force threw them at me for simply existing in the Air Force. Right? So I don't really count that as a degree. But the amount of people that I've talked to who, like me, grew up in a household that was relatively poor, and in some cases, neither parent had degrees. College was always a far goal from anybody in your family. I can absolutely, and let me say this unequivocally, I absolutely respect the person who says, I want to be the first in generations of my family to get a degree because it means something for the legacy of my heritage. I respect your desire to go get a degree on that alone. Absolutely. I'll never knock your desire to go get a degree when that's your motivation. I'm super proud of you. I high five you through the camera. High five you all day long. I think that's fucking awesome. There's my gratuitous, abrasive language. I wish you guys could have heard what Beard just said in my ear. Not what he said, but how he said it. That in and of itself could have been a meme. Nobody will ever know, but you and I will know. But as much as I say that, I will continue to disagree with E-Curve, but I'll say that E-Curve misheard me. I did not say that relationships were more important than knowledge. What I said is that college does not equal knowledge. Right? I do not believe. I'll 100% caveat this, E-Curve, by saying I know that this is a United States thing. Right? College does not equal knowledge. Right? Neal, I've been following you for 3+ years, and you're speaking facts on networking, providing me with people I don't even know, and this community is full of people that I want to help. Networking is key, but it has to be intentional and meaningful. That is all I've ever preached. Like, I know that somebody decided to take one thing that I said and clip it and put it all over the internet to be like, see, Neal doesn't actually care about networking. He just thinks that getting 1,000 connections is the key to everything. What they failed to do was they failed to record the rest of that, where I said meaningful connections. Meaningful connections. That's why I'm grateful for all of you here, because if you're here, you understand that the value isn't in my gratuitously abrasive language. It's in the networking that we all provide to each other as peers. Right? That's why we're all here. All of you should relish the network of cyber insecurity, because everybody who has been in this community, everybody who has committed time and resources to being awesome in this community has succeeded. Even my failed intern, Callie, eventually succeeded. Right? Subtle plug for the Discord. Make sure you're hanging out on Discord, communing, especially in sub chat, with your fellow cyber insecurity knights, your fellow narwhals. The way I say gratuitously abrasive is gratuitously abrasive. If you could hear the words that Beardsec is whispering in my ear right now, you'd have a new definition of gratuitously abrasive. Chat. You know, I look down at the clock and I see that it's 10:30 and I'm like, holy shit, we've been streaming for 2 hours. I could chat with you guys. For literal hours. But unfortunately, I do have a job to do. I have yay meetings in an hour and a half. We're going to transition to co-working streams. If you've never, ever participated in a co-working stream, I highly encourage you to participate in a co-working stream. It is an ADHD coping tactic, and I owe somebody some push-ups. I don't know who, but I owe somebody some push-ups. Thanks for redeeming that. ADHD coping tactic where we try to finish out our day pretty strong. I've got a couple meetings today. What we're going to do is we're going to turn on some music to allow some focus. Look at it. Double push-up challenge. That's okay. I knew Beardsec was going to come for me. I knew Beardsec was going to come for me today. I got after him a little bit yesterday. I literally waited. I watched him stand up, sit down, and then I hit my redeem for his stand-up desk. I did that on purpose. He knows that. He's going to get back at me today. I know he is. But if you're new to co-working, I highly encourage you to come study, work with us. It's a fantastic way, again, for us to maintain the community, continue to do the community aspect. Somebody says, are you going to be playing the new Battlefield? Nope, I'm playing Legion Remix on WoW. We have a WoW channel in Discord. If you want to play Legion Remix with Maz and myself, hop on in there. I think Sonic's playing a little bit of that too. Hop on in there as well. Remixes, I'm still developing an opinion out of Remix, but we'll see how it goes. I'm also playing retail as well on there. Reminder, Threat Brief on Monday. Make sure you do tune in Monday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for our weekly Threat Brief. Get it in first thing in the morning. We will do that on Monday. We will have Tea with the Hacker next Friday. Then we'll have streams all throughout the week. E-Curve, fair point. I'll say this one last time. You missed it at the beginning. Beardsec and I almost, murdered, unalived each other, whatever you want to say, over trying to figure out how to buy 10 vouchers on Hack the Box. They've changed their website so much, and it was absolutely miserable. We figured it out. We're going to be dropping the giveaway today. There is actually a cyber insecurity give. See, look, you guys are going to keep talking. You guys are going to keep talking. There is a Cyber Insecurity guild on Tichondrius. Maz, myself, anybody can give you an invite. If you are in WoW, I think we do cross-server, cross-faction guild invites. Hit one of us up, and we will get you a guild invite. All right, let's put on some music. Let's go to some co-working streams. Chad is owed 20 push-ups. Let's do some aim to the head. Listen, y'all are awesome. I love you. Thanks for tuning in every Friday. I truly appreciate all of you. Let's get to work for a Friday and let's have a great fucking day.